Order! Order! You are an incorrigible delinquent at times. Behave yourself, man!
So it's been rumbling on for weeks, but the row over the Chancellor's cuts to tax credits finally came to a head last week with a defeat in the Lords and serious dissent among Tory MPs in the Commons. George Osborne has gone back to the drawing board on tax credits and promised to, quote, deal with the House of Lords, whose actions he's branded unconstitutional. The Prime Minister set up a review of the Lords' powers. That review is being headed by a hereditary Tory peer called Tom Strathclyde, and he had agreed to do an interview with us this morning, but 10 Downing Street phoned us yesterday to pull him from the show. We think the government doesn't want us to talk about tax credits, so let's talk about tax credits. Jan and Ganesh, will the Chancellor now get away with some fine-tuning, with some tweaking before the autumn statement, or does he have to start almost from scratch?
Well, the problem is that even the tweaking is very difficult. It's technically difficult to reform the policy without, while simultaneously helping all the people who stand to lose out. It's fiscally difficult because I think the current policy saves about £4 billion, which is a third of the £12 billion he pledged to find from welfare. So there's no managerial way of doing it. What I think could be done is either projecting or hoping for projections of higher tax receipts, so he has to cut less.
So the deficit doesn't look as bad?
Exactly. Or move the target for getting rid of the deficit, achieving a surplus, to maybe a year later. I'm not suggesting he will do that, but it's a much more fundamental solution than any tinkering.
It was only a few months ago that the Tory press sort of thought Mr. Osborne walked on water. His reputation's taken a real battering, I would suggest, from this.
In a very short time, 3 weeks at the Tory party conference, Cameron and Osborne marched out of it in a state of triumph and euphoria. I think this lot's budget now looks like another omnishambles and considerably more serious. Last time it was funny, caravans.
And it was on the edge of matters.
Caravans and pasty taxes. Yeah. This time, the question is, can he really drive through all these cuts? At the moment, he's trying to impose on most cabinet ministers 40% cuts, which are undoable, local government undoable. So this one unpicking is only the first of, I think, many more that are going to come. Either ministers will cave in and say, yes, we'll accept the cuts, but then their departments will fall apart, or they will rebel. And I don't
Against a weakened Chancellor?
Against a weakened Chancellor. And on tax credits, as Dylan said, there is no tweak available. He gives back exactly the amount of money that he's taken away, or else these hard-working, low-paid people will be out of pocket by precisely the sum he's taken away from them.
What do you hear about what might be in the pipeline? We've got the autumn statement, which is also the comprehensive review, so it's a 3-year rolling spending plan he comes up with. It's the last Wednesday of this month. Now we're in November. What do you read as what he may be up to?
The Chancellor is going to pony up, and he's going to pony up mega bucks, and he's going to do that thanks to his ever-flexible friend. And who's his flexible friend? It's Rupert Harrison, who is his former advisor, former chief economics advisor, and he devised the deficit reduction plan in the last Parliament and the plan to target a surplus in this Parliament, which always sounds really hardline. There's no change from Plan A, but Plan A always has written into it Plan B, Plan C and Plan D. And if you look, he's already delayed by 1 year the targeting of the surplus. He could delay it by a further year and still reach it by the time of the general election. Or he could say, because the OBR will probably revise down economic growth forecasts for the time of the autumn statement, there's been a bit of a change, and the 10 billion he's meant to achieve of a surplus by 2019-2020, that could come down and that could release the resources. No, the Chancellor is in a hole. He's not stupid. He's going to get out of that hole, and to do it he's going to spend a lot of money, but he's going to sound hardline by duffing up the House of the Lords in the process.
But do we take that seriously, the duffing up of the House of Lords, or is that just a bit of flack to deflect attention from the tax credits stramash? Well, that's a good word. I haven't used that for a while.
Or
stramash.
Stramash, rumpus, whatever you want to call it. There was a lot of idle talk of them even stuffing the Lords a couple of weeks ago to get their way and achieve a majority.
With Tory peers?
With Tory peers, which ended badly or controversially the last time it happened about 100 years ago. I can't believe they'll do anything as provocative as that. But if you're the House of Lords, another incident like this, and you do make the argument for your own reform or abolition, I think.
Well,
Indeed, there's a good argument for reform and abolition,
Yes.
and I don't see why the Lords shouldn't rebel as often as they want, for as long as the government refuses any attempt to make
try
a
and force it
democratic,
into reform.
to have a democratic House
Strathclyde,
of
your
Lords.
man, he's the Willie Whitelaw, gives this great impression of sounding not very bright, but he's one of the most ferociously clever people in the entire political system.
well, you can say that. Of course, our viewers didn't get a chance to judge. We could have put him through the fire this morning, but at least we didn't talk about tax credits and fell in line with government policy.
I've been getting away